We're going to have a little showdown, okay? I want all of your prophets to pray as long as they want to pray for their God to send rain or actually to send fire and consume a sacrifice. And then when that's done, if that works, then it'll rain. And then if that doesn't work, then give me a shot at it. So they all assemble on a certain day. And all the prophets are at top, and they're crying out to their gods, and they're cutting themselves, and they're plaguing, God, please send fire down and consume this, show that you're the real God, and nothing happens. And after a while, Elijah, he's a little sarcastic. He goes, maybe your God's like sleeping. Maybe you need to do a little louder. And of course, the other guys are going, oh, we didn't think about that. Good point. Let's be louder. And they cry out, hours and hours, nothing happens. Finally, the day starts, and Elijah goes, okay, that's enough. My turn. And so he looks at the altar and the sacrifice on the altar, and he goes, this is too easy for God. I want you to walk all the way down the mountain, which happened to be right on the seashore of the Mediterranean Sea. And I want you to grab some of that salt water down there, and I want you to bring it up here, and I want you to just dump it all over. I want you to get as wet as you can. And they got it as wet as they could. And if it got really saturated, God's looking down, watching it happen, and Elijah looks up and goes, okay, God, that everybody might know that you are the true God. Send down fire and consume it. Fire falls from the sky. Everything is just consumed. Altar, sacrifice, water, dirt. It's just incinerated. And everybody watching is like, whoa. We've been following the wrong God. This is the true God. Yeah, we want to follow him. There's like this big breakthrough spiritually happened with these people. Now, what I find fascinating is what happened the very next day. Because the very next day, Jezebel takes one of her messengers and she sends a little message to the prophet. This is Elijah. Message from Jezebel. By tomorrow, I'm going to make sure that you're as dead as all of the false prophets were the day before. I'm going to have your life, Elijah. And then Elijah's response. Now think of what he'd just been through. His response was to flee. He runs away. He heads south toward the desert, towards no man's land. He runs to the point of exhaustion. He finally falls asleep. And an angel shows up and goes, look, you're going to have some food and water. And so, look, here, I've provided some food and water for you. He eats and falls asleep again, wakes up. Here's some more food. Here's some more water. After eating that, he gets up. He starts going south. The very bottom of the Arabian Peninsula to Mount Sinai is where he goes. He's hiding out as far away as he can get from anybody. And here's what I find is fascinating. In 2 Kings chapter 19, when the prophet is there in the very southern Sinai Peninsula, God shows up and says, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" What are you doing here, Elijah? Now understand, whenever God asks a question, he's not looking for information. He already knows the answer. When God asks a question, he's trying to get us to think about deep and internal matters. What are you doing here, Elijah? See, the correct answer to that question is, well, God, I ran because I was worried. I was worried that Jezebel might kill me. I was worried that the revival the day before wouldn't take. I was worried that people would turn on me. I was worried that my life might end. I was worried that you might not take care of me. I was worried that you wouldn't protect me. And I was so worried, I was so freaked about that I just had to leave. I had to get out of there. I had to run. What are you doing here, Elijah? You're supposed to be back in Israel. What are you doing here, Elijah? You're supposed to be speaking in my name. What are you doing here, Elijah? You're supposed to be experiencing my blessing and my power. What are you doing here, Elijah? You're supposed to be changing the course of history back there. But the reason you're here, Elijah, is because worry drove you to this place. See, worry will always do that. If we allow worry to exist inside of us, that worry will drive us to places we never should be. Now think about this. If you worry about your marriage, you will make choices to take your marriage somewhere farther from where you want it to be. If you worry about your children, you will make choices in interacting with children that will cause you to take your relationship with your children to places you don't want it to be. If you worry about your finances, you will make financial decisions that will drive you to places financially you never wanted to be. See, worry never drives us to make healthy choices. It drives us to make unhealthy choices that seem right at the time. They seem to make sense in the moment. But worry drives us, listen carefully, in the opposite direction God wants us to go. That's what worry will do. And remember, don't worry doesn't mean don't care. And sometimes we want to say, well, I just care. When what we're really doing is we're worrying. And mark it down, worry will take us places we never wanted to go. And we end up going, what am I doing? So how do we drive worry out? How do we kill it? What's the silver bullet? That's basically the second observation that I want to take the rest of our time with this morning. And I'd say it this way, we can overcome worry by choosing to trust God with our future needs and hopes. Choose to trust God with our future needs and hopes. Choose to trust God with all the uncertainties of tomorrow. I'm going to trust you, God, that you're going to be there and you are going to take care of me. Now, it was super great to go, oh, okay, trust God. Fine, let's pray and go home. Got a picnic I want to go to. Let's go. Except, you know what most of us struggle with? Whether or not God is dependable. We believe that God can be trusted by a bunch of people, but where we struggle is believing that God can be trusted with us, because after all, we're us. I know me. And I'm not so sure, knowing me, that God will take care of me because of who I am with all those uncertainties in the future. So Jesus does something remarkable. In Matthew chapter 6, he asks 3 powerful rhetorical questions, the answer of which is obvious, even to people who don't know very much about God at all. And the answers to those rhetorical questions provide for us the reasons why you and I can trust God for ourselves with every single uncertainty that tomorrow holds. Here's what we learned. First of all, we learn that we can trust God with our future needs because God already met our greatest need. Jesus says in verse 25 of Matthew 6, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear." Listen, is life not more important than food, and the body more important than clothes? Okay, everybody, answer the question. Is it? Yes. Is that hard? Is it? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The life is more important than food, and the body is more important than clothes.